There is no reason to expect that money will flow into cannabis at crazy approval rates and that everyone's going to come rushing into the space if traditional small business is so severely underbanked and underserved. And so, what do I think it means? There is no doubt things will get better. The news of rescheduling is phenomenal. It's a great beginning.
We're back with another fantastic episode, a really fantastic episode of Media Unshackled, featuring one of the prominent, if not the prominent, money financial lending operation, organization, enterprise in cannabis. We're going to find out the exact terminology. You know, we deal with everything from seed to sale here. So, none of it happens without money. So it's our honor to have Adam from FundCanna on. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, Dimitri. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's beautiful here in Phoenix. Where are you at?
I'm in San Diego, Solana Beach.
Excellent. Well, I kind of wish I was over there. We have a big connection with San Diego. So I'm a little bit of a fan. I'm a little bit of a groupie. I've been following you guys' progress and your reach into the cannabis industry over the years. When did FundCanna come about?
So I started the company in 2021, but it was about a little over a year of studying the cannabis supply chain before I started the company. I wanted to make sure I knew what I was getting into. And I was running another finance company at the time. But we started in fall, September to be exact, of 21. And then we originated our first funding contract in January of 22.
Are you allowed to say who that was and what was that about? Was that exciting? Did you pop champagne or is it an
Uh,
NDA?
yeah, no, well, I can't say who it was. We are, unless the client gives specific notice, we treat all of our clients with total confidentiality. It's in our agreement. But
Very well done.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was the that was the perfect answer.
Yeah, well, look, you don't keep clients if you don't respect their confidentiality. So, um, but we did not celebrate when we financed the first client, and I'll tell you why. Is it's a long journey,
Right.
and we were just getting started, and so it definitely felt good. But I can tell you that experience probably was not as awesome for them as it is for clients now, because the first few times you do anything, you're far from perfect. But it was great. It was a long road to get to the place where we could fund our first client in cannabis.
Yep. So 3 years later, you guys are probably rocking and rolling. And I really respect that. A lot of people have privacy, and I just thought maybe there's some good horror story or fantastic story now, but it's okay. You guys do everything from seed to from cultivators, processing, manufacturing, dispensaries,
Yes,
non-plant touching, ancillary, auxiliary, delivery. Let
all
me
of
get
it.
an idea of like who you might be have funding for.
Sure. So, well, you're 100% right. So, I would just say the entire supply chain from cultivator to dispensary and everything in between. And then all the ancillary providers, everybody, lighting, nutrients, armored transport, labs, testing, you name it. Even maybe someone that resides within supply chain, like licensing and branding. Um, we do it all. If it is in some way correlated to this industry, I will fund it.
Hold on one second, Adam. Hold on. Hold your thought for 1 second. We seem to have lost you. Speak again, Adam.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we'll edit that out. We go back to you were talking about armored transportation, ancillary auxiliary.
Yeah, so basically, we FundCanna will fund the entire supply chain, from cultivator through dispensary and everything in between, and then we fund all of the ancillary providers that service that supply chain, lighting, nutrients, armored transport, even labs and testing. And then, of course, the equipment that the industry needs, we finance that as well. So we've partnered with a lot of these companies to kind of be like their in-house source of financing. Again, only when or if needed.
Now, is no loan is too small, no amount is too large? Is that your philosophy, or is there like
Uh,
limits on this?
kind of. I mean, that would sound a lot better than the reality. The reality is
I'm a
the
marketer, Adam. Come on.
yeah, no, and I love it. The reality is from 5,000 to 5 million
Okay.
is more realistic. Um, we don't go below 5,000 mainly just because of commercial funding, regulatory reasons.
All right.
But I wouldn't have an issue with a single at any level if it helps the client. But and the only reason we go up to 5 million and not larger at the moment is simply age and size of my portfolio. I don't want to take the concentration risk. So taking more than 5 million right now would be a bit more risk than I'm comfortable with.
No, that's fantastic. And Adam, just a little bit about you. What were you doing before with the cannabis industry?
So I'll give a very quick background, but I'm originally from New York City, born and raised, lived there from 0 to 32, and when in New York, and relevant only, you'll see it'll end up making sense. But when I worked in the city, I did two things. The first, maybe surprisingly, maybe not. I hope it's surprising. Was I worked in women's clothing, and what I loved about that, and will be somewhat relevant in a moment, was we did everything. So design, manufacture, and of course sell and market and warehouse and transport, and of course then had to finance everything we did there. And so I worked there for a number of years, left as an executive of that company, and then worked on Wall Street. And the part I loved most about my time on Wall Street was analytics. I love data, and I'm not afraid or ashamed to admit that data is amazing because it tells a story. And so after that, I moved to San Diego in 2004, and I went into lending. But what I got to do was call on some of what I knew about distribution, marketing, finance, and analytics to put together a plan for lending, consumer lending. I did student loans. And I ended up doing about 15 billion in student loans on balance sheet, and and loved it. But the financial crisis in '08 hit. And when that happened, here I was with all that history, and banks stopped calling me back. I had no defaults. The banks had made millions in fees off of me, and I had underwritten and funded hundreds of thousands of clients. And if I wasn't getting callbacks or the respect that I felt the business deserved, I wondered how small business was getting served by lenders and banks. And what I learned was they're underserviced and underbanked. So I started a company called Reliant Funding, where I was funding small businesses. And I knew very little about small business, but I am always a student, always looking to learn. I always say never a professor. So I studied small business. We ended up growing that business from scratch and an idea. We did 3.5 billion to small business, underwrote over 1 million businesses, and 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 we're in all states with 230 employees, and it was awesome. But then the pandemic hit, and during the pandemic, I was now doing that 14 years. And the pandemic hits, and all of my clients at the time I had $110 million outstanding, owed to the business. Um, and everybody was forced to close, and I was forced to work from home, as were my 230 employees. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting at home on my couch, and the TV's on in the background, and CNN did a story about cannabis and how cannabis was deemed essential. And my head exploded, because what I knew as a user of cannabis, what I knew was that cannabis was illegal at the federal level. And yet, all these different states that said legal, not legal, medical, adult use, how is it that that is deemed essential, and regular business was forced to close? So I started just going down the rabbit hole. Like I said, I always want to learn um, of how cannabis worked, and that launched me onto like a 1 year journey of trying to learn everything I could about cannabis, how it worked, how it was banked, where money came from, what the state rules and regulations were, how screwed up federal system was, 280E, all of it. I went deep and hard. And then
Yep.
I started calling people that I knew. It might have been like a game of telephone, but ultimately I started visiting cultivators, indoor, outdoor, visiting guys that I knew that owned or ran dispensaries, and asking lots of questions.
Mostly in the
Uh,
California area.
Sorry.
Mostly in the California area.
No, well, I mostly the West Coast. I did some Nevada and some Washington State,
Okay.
um, and a very large brand up in Washington, a very large grow facility in Nevada. And it was less to understand what they did specifically that might have been different than their peers, but more to understand like how their business worked, what the
Right.
growth cycles look like, what their supplies were that they had to buy, how long it took them from money outlay to revenue. I wanted to understand the gaps in their cash flow cycle, and understand where their pain was coming from, to see if I could I had designed financial product for student loans. I had designed financial product for traditional small business. I wanted to see if I thought I could design financial product for cannabis.
So how hard? I mean, I want to ask. I know this is probably not a good question, but how hard is it to qualify for loans? You know, for these companies. A lot of people have good ideas. A lot of people have financials, good taxes, revenue, few projected revenue. Uh, is there a way to simplify that real quickly?
Yeah, well, what I would say is, from my perspective, I won't fund businesses pre-revenue, but I
Okay.
want to explain to you why. Um, and that might answer your question. I don't do pre-revenue because one of I think the most important skills that anyone can have is knowing what they're not good at. Um, and what I know is I have 20 plus years of experience lending money to people that have the ability to show me their cash flow.
Mm.
I don't know how to underwrite somebody that has no cash flow. And so instead of trying to do something that I don't know how to do, I prefer to try to understand a market and then marry my skill set um, and where I believe I'm strong. It doesn't mean I'm not always looking to improve on my deficiencies, but how do I take what I know how to do well and marry it to an industry that has a need? So I never want to overburden a client. I never want to over leverage anybody. And if I try to underwrite somebody that does not have any cash flow or any sales history, I don't know that with I want to be able to look you or someone that I work with in the eye and tell them, I am confident we're not going to over leverage you. I won't be a source of pain, because that's not a relationship anybody wants. Well, maybe some people like that, but it's not my jam. Um, I like painless relationships, and so I don't know how to do that for a pre-revenue business. Now it's different if someone has real estate. You can lend against the real estate and their credit file, but I'm not lending against real estate. I'm lending for the business, and so how easy is it to qualify? To answer your question more directly, our approval rate, as I sit here with you right now, is 71.4%.
Wow.
So it is absolutely a high approval rate. Now that includes repeat clients. So, and obviously repeat clients, the approval rate's over 90%. So if I look only at brand new clients, clients we've never worked with, our approval rate's 59%.
Now, do
So
you? Oh, so good.
when you ask the question, how hard is it to get approved? I I can get into the mechanics of what we look at, but I wanted to make sure that you and your audience have a sense of, if someone were to apply and they were not pre-revenue, what are the odds of being approved? Well, if we look at all time, as I said, it's just shy of 72%. But if we look at new clients, clients we've never worked with before, we approve at a rate of 59%.
And just real quick question, like an example. Do you guys use licensing? For example, licensing and limited licenses states. Say the Florida ones are worth, 10 to $30 million, whatever, on the open market, the secondary market for licenses. Can those be collateralized to get capital? Just I'm
So,
curious because I have a friend who's looking in
yeah.
the limited licensing market of Arizona for 3 million. So is that happen a lot? What do you see there?
So it doesn't happen often. Can we do it? The answer is yes. Do we do it? Not really. It's very rare. So we have funded let's just say about 1,500 clients, um,
Wow.
and I've never taken the license as collateral. It doesn't mean that we don't have the right to do that, but I haven't done it, including on clients that have defaulted. It's not. The truth is, it's not the business that I'm in. So I want to know that the client has intention to repay and that people don't commit fraud and that they're not dishonest. Um, but the truth is, Dimitri, it's not. I'm not in the cannabis business. I'm in the finance business. My client base is exclusively in the cannabis industry, and so of course I could repossess
Like that.
or take possession of a license, but then I have to find someone to help me move it and find a buyer and deal with regulation. Yeah, exactly. So and then the same is true. Like, we don't take inventory. I don't. We have distribution partners that we could work with to liquidate inventory. And
Right.
again, we have the right to do it, but in the 1,500 or so files that we funded, we've not taken collateral. Um, we really are, for the most part, an unsecured source of finance.
That's
That's
really cool. And if you do end up with a lot of extra product, just call me on Saturday and we'll meet somewhere.
yeah, yeah. It's it hasn't really. This is the wild thing, Dimitri. If you We treat clients well. We're very transparent about what we do. We're a renewable source of funding that works like a revolving line of credit, and it's very rare that a client, we're kind of like the last person they don't want to pay because we're the source of additional money. So the money's always revolving. If like the um the we have clients that pay us off early because we only charge for time used, so there's no prepayment penalty.
Right.
If we go the other way, it's prepayment discounts. So, and 100% of the clients, a third of our book, pay early, and on the third that pays early, 100% of them draw again. So our money is used like a revolving line of credit.
Love that.
We're not, by design, we design the product. If people are still in business, they want to pay us because they know that we're buying their supplies, we're buying their materials, we're paying their staff, and we're always available. And
A-
and that's not the person that you want to default on.
Adam, I was, I help buy and sell things in this industry, a little bit of a consultant, done a lot of things. We don't need to get into me, but I always say one day I'm going to have to get a job. And I was thinking about coming to work for you as a collection agent, but now it sounds kind of boring. That's
Yeah.
kidding.
Well, look,
It's
here's
not a
the
lot of
thing.
work. People pay back.
Yeah. Well, they look, for the most part, they do, but we have every business, or every industry, I should say, they have tough times. And there's no doubt cannabis is, I would say, somewhat unique in that we've had a lot of tough times in this industry. Um, and certain companies are thriving while others are struggling. And so we have within our book at any given time, we always have clients that are going through a tough time, but we work with them. And I am not, Dimitri, and I've never been in the business of hurting anybody. I'm
Right.
also not in business to get hurt. So as long as we've got clients that work with us, exactly. Yeah, I saw that.
I'm
Uh,
just saying, come on.
yeah, no, but
I
as
just
long,
left Colombia. So
yeah, um, if we're working with clients that are open, honest, transparent, I mean, we use a lot of technology here, so we look at banks and bank statements, inflow and outflow of money. We can see what's going on, and if a client is going through a really tough time, and that's different than the place they were in when they funded with us, we're happy to make concessions, and work with them to so that they come out on the other side, in a better position than they were when they reached out to us for assistance. Um, but I don't want to misrepresent. I think there are people that are disingenuous or try to commit fraud, and those are the times to be a lot less gentle.
So, Adam, I want to get to the hook of this podcast, which everybody's been
Please.
waiting for, and is going to be the title as we send this out. Schedule 3 is coming. How is
Yeah.
this going to impact the financial markets and your access to capital? By Adam. That is what everybody's waiting to hear. You want to take a bite at that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I just don't know that people are going to love my answer. Well,
I
so
have no
here's what
idea. So
yeah, here's what I'll say. Let's first just lean on a little bit of the experience outside of cannabis
okay,
to
you have
say,
like 4 minutes, Adam, just in case. Just I don't want
got
to.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's go.
quick. But traditional small business gets approved by banks at a rate of 20 to 25%. That is, they've never been illegal in the eyes of Fed, state, or otherwise. Restaurants, contractors, you name it, retailers, they only get approved at a rate of 20 to 25%, which means they're being declined at a rate of 75 to 80%. There is no reason to expect that money will flow into cannabis at crazy approval rates and that everyone's going to come rushing into the space if traditional small business is so severely underbanked and underserved. And so, what do I think it means? There is no doubt things will get better. The news of rescheduling is phenomenal. It's a great beginning. It's certainly not what we need, but the momentum is phenomenal and it does a lot for us. I think the biggest thing it does is eradicate 280E. I mean, IRS code 280E crushes us. Effective tax rates that approach 70%. It just erodes cash flow like nothing else. And so Schedule 3 changing that helps. And it will help lending in the sense that when you free up cash flow, your balance sheet looks a lot better, which makes you more approvable. Or if you're already approvable, it makes the amount that you can receive that much greater. And so, in that regard, I think it will help a lot. But I don't want people to feel like rescheduling is like a panacea where all of a sudden, like everyone and their mother is going to come rushing in and throw money at the space. I think it wouldn't be sincere of me to make that representation. I don't think that'll happen.
All right. Well, that's a pretty strong answer. Yeah. I mean, I'm hearing, I watched like 7 rescheduling videos, and I think two of them were, we have banking is going to be everywhere, and 2 of them, banking is not going to happen. Then, of course, we have the medical versus adult use. And it's just, a mountain of regulations that's piled up over 50 years. I think it's going to be a
Yeah,
long time before it's clear.
it will. And I'm somewhere in the middle for what it's worth. It's not that I think we won't see movement, we will. I just don't think it's going to be this dramatic shift where all of a sudden everybody feels like we push the easy button. I don't think that will happen, but I think 100% chance of things improving. and of cash flow improving, of there being breaks on taxes. I just don't think it's not a magic bullet, but it certainly will improve all aspects of everything you mentioned.
Well, that's fantastic. Adam, you seem like more of a partner and a friend than a businessman. So I'm excited to get to know you more in the future. If I have people that need capital, I'll send them over your way. And hopefully they'll be part of that 70% that gets approved. Is that right? So
That's right.
where are we going to see you next? Are you going to be in any conferences? FundCanna? I mean, people could come to your website. Uh, what are you going to be out there in the CWBC or MJ BizCon or something like that?
The next one, well, we'll be at MJ BizCon for sure. That'll be early December. We'll be at Benzinga in Chicago in October. We'll be at PBC in September, and then we'll be doing some smaller local events. I won't be at those events, but a lot of our team will be. We try to hit as many of the conferences to be present as we can, but without a doubt, we'll be at PBC, Benzinga, and MJ BizCon.
Well, excellent. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. And you're mostly in San Diego because we should have dinner sometime.
Would love that. And yes, we're in San Diego, but we service the entire country. So, but I would love it. If you ever come to San Diego, great. If not, I'm in Arizona a couple times a year minimum.
Yeah, next time you're in Phoenix, hit me up. I'll be over at the CWBC. We have a nice 10 by 20 booth there. We'll be interviewing people for Meat Unshackled. And we'll definitely we have a big project for MJ BizCon. So we look forward to getting to know you more, getting to know your team more. And I'll hit them up if I see them at any conferences. And let's get together soon. And we'll put your contact info on here. And Adam, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. And we'll look forward to getting to know you more as the cannabis industry goes on.
Thank you, Dimitri. Appreciate the time very much.
Thank you, Adam, very much. This
All
has
right.
been another episode of Meat Unshackled.